Hey, this is Amazin.reacting to a brand new video on my channel. Today's video is titled The Culling Game Rules Explained, JJK Season 3. Now, JJK Season 3, I've already finished the manga, but I wanted to see how someone would explain the Culling Game so I can explain it to people if they do ask. I kind of got my own interpretation of it, which I feel like is pretty accurate, but I want to see how they explain it. It does say Season 3, so I'm assuming it's just talking about Season 3. If it is spoilers, I'll cut it out, and once I get done with the whole video, if there's no spoilers, I will title no spoilers so you'll be safe. But we'll just check out the video.
In Jujutsu Kaisen, the Culling Game has a ton of different rules, so today we're explaining what these rules actually mean and why the Culling Game exists in the first place. To start things off, the Culling Game is a battle royale designed by Kenjaku in which sorcerers have to fight each other to the death. You might be wondering though, why would anyone agree to take part in this? And the
Oh, we
answer
got the
is
same
that some
microphone.
people don't have a choice. Remember, back in season 2, Kenjaku used Mahito's technique to alter the brains of humans across Japan. At the time, he mentioned that he targeted two specific groups of people, and those were the ancient sorcerers and the awakened sorcerers.
Now, one thing I will say about the whole ancient sorcerers and awakened sorcerers, the ancient sorcerers are people who are humans in this, like, that are humans, but they ate a cursed object. So the sorcerer from the past is reincarnated in their body. And then the awakened sorcerers would be someone who, like Junpei, I believe it's stated. Now I may be wrong on this, but I believe it's stated the awakened sorcerers were people who had cursed techniques. Their bodies weren't able to utilize cursed energy in order to use those techniques. So they were basically like human, like Junpei. I believe he had a curse technique. His body wasn't structured to use curse energy to actually activate that curse technique. That's why Mahito had to use idle transfiguration on him so he could use curse, so his body could utilize curse energy and activate his technique. So a lot of the people were kind of like special in their own way. It's just they couldn't use their curse techniques. And then that's why whenever they do get their curse energy, they can rise up to the level of like a first grade and stuff like that because they had potential. They just weren't sorcerers.
Awakened sorcerers are people like Junpei who were born with curse techniques but
Oh,
without the right brain to control curse energy.
I'm glad. I should have just
Usually,
let it play.
people
My
like
fault.
this would go their whole lives not knowing they have powers, but in this scene, Kenjaku turned all of them into real sorcerers. This is what brings us to Rule 1 of the Culling Game, which states that after awakening a
And if you are confused on the Culling Games, I understand why. Because these rules went by too quick. Even on the latest episode where they kind of slowed it down, it went by too quick for you to like read it and kind of grasp what was going on.
technique, these players must join the Culling Game within 19 days. In a minute, I'll explain how you're supposed to join, but for now, the main thing that's important is that the Culling Game started on Halloween night, shortly before midnight.
They turned
This
it up
means
in
that awakened
Shibuya.
players, they have from the 1st of November to the 19th of November to join the Culling Game, and they will literally die if they don't do it. According to rule number 2, any player who breaks the first rule will have their curse technique removed, and Shoko believes that this removal process will kill the person. This is pretty bad news for Megami's sister Sumiki, who was one of the many people affected by Mahito's technique. At the end of season 2, we saw her waking up from a coma, and now, according to Megami, she has 10 days left to join the Culling Game. To save her, Fushiguro, Yuji, and a few others, they're going to join the Culling Game themselves, and they're
Yuta,
creating a
that's my goat.
situation that will allow Sumiki to escape. However, before we get into the details of that, we should probably talk about ancient sorcerers. As the name suggests, ancient sorcerers are sorcerers from the past who've been brought back to life thanks to Kenjaku. Many of these people are from the same era as Sukuna, and just like Sukuna,
And yes, a lot of these people, some of these people are from the same area as Sukuna, but some of the like the main sorcerers who really want to participate in the Culling Game, they were from a time after Sukuna. I think it was like one person that was before. They from a time after Sukuna too, so they never got to fight him. So that's one of the things that they're looking forward to too is fighting the strongest. So I think that's another thing that people kind of miss out on too.
their souls were turned into cursed objects after their death. Back in the day, Kenjaku made binding vows with these people, in which they agreed to take part in the Culling Game as long as he brought them back to life in the future. That's why, in modern times, Kenjaku began feeding these objects to people in the modern day because those people would become the vessels for the ancient sorcerers.
Yeah.
With the one exception of Sukuna, every ancient sorcerer has been asleep until now, but Kenjaku woke them up at the end of season 2. In this moment, he broke the seal of the cursed objects, causing their souls to wake up, and they woke up inside of the vessels that he had strengthened with Mahito's technique. The end result is that you have 1,000 ancient sorcerers who want to join the Culling Games, and you also have a bunch of awakened sorcerers who, they're being forced to join. Now, the question is, how exactly do you join? Well, spread across Japan, there are 10 gigantic barriers referred to as colonies. Inside each of these colonies is where the fighting is meant to take place, and according to Rule 1, players can join any colony they want. All you have to do is physically approach the colony of your choice, and once you do, you'll be greeted by the Shikigami.
Now, the only other thing which I'm hoping he explains, I know how they said like if you go into it starts if you accept the invitation to go into the colonies. But what I wonder, what if you get the curse, like what if your body can utilize curse energy, you have your curse technique and you don't participate in the colony, like you don't enter the colonies, like no, because that wouldn't work. Because if that was yeah, no, it wouldn't work. Because that was the case, they could have just kept Sumiki out of the colony and she'd have been fine. So I was gonna say maybe if they never even participated at all, then they should be good. But no, yeah, because then they could have just told Samiki, just don't go to the colonies and you're fine.
This Shikigami will ask you if you want to become a player, and if you say yes, then according to Rule 3 of the Culling Games, you officially become a player. Each player then also receives one of these Shikigami for themselves, and it will give you important updates about the game itself if there are updates to be given. And on top of that, you can ask it relevant questions. Now, moving on, in the third episode of JJK Season 3, it was revealed that the true purpose of the Culling Game is to merge Japan's population with Tengen. For context, until very recently, Tengen had to merge once every 500 years with a single person known as the Star Plasma Vessel. Star Plasma Vessels are people who have compatible DNA with Tengen, and
Mm-hmm.
this merger was done to stop Tengen from evolving. However, in 2006, Toji messed everything up when he killed Rico, and so from that moment onwards, Tengen began evolving into something not human. At this point, she says that her evolved soul has become part of the world itself, and that this character that we see, that isn't actually her. This is just like, I guess you could say it's a hologram or a vision, but her actual body, it's everywhere. Because of this evolution, it means that Tengen is now more of a cursed spirit than a human being, and so because of that, it means that she can technically merge with anyone. It doesn't have to be a star plasma.
And another thing I do want to point out, like the Culling Games could really be called a series of unfortunate events because it was a lot of stuff to get it this perfect. It was a lot of stuff that had to go on, like Ghetto dying, Kenjaku getting a body that could use curse manipulation, Toji actually being successful in killing the Star Plasma vessel when years prior, which they said in the season 3, the years prior they hadn't been able to do it because of the six eyes user. So it was a lot of things that went well for the Culling Games. Like he did have plans to enact the Culling Games like this one, but it's perfect because of those events that happened that kind of like fell in his lap. So, you know, I think that's good storytelling, to be honest.
Vessel, she can merge with any human. Now, Kenjaku's plan is to test the limits of what Jujutsu can do by merging an entire country's worth of people, I think like 100 million people, with Tengen. And by doing this, you're going to create a monster that's never been seen in history. The culling game is simply the ritual to make that happen, because as the players keep fighting each other, they'll generate tons and tons of cursed energy. Then, once all 10 colonies have generated enough cursed energy, the ritual will be complete and Japan's population will be cooked. Tengen's estimate is that it will take roughly 2 months of fighting for the ritual to be complete, and this brings us to Rule 4 and Rule 8 of the culling game. Rule 4 states that players gain points for killing other players, and Rule 8 says that players will die if their score stays the same for 19 days. What this means is that you can't just enter the culling games and then hide. You have to kill at least one person every.
Now, see, look, he's saying you can't enter the Culling Games and hide, but what if you don't enter the Culling Games and just hide from the beginning? But I feel like if you could do that, then Samiki would have just done that and they wouldn't have been put on the clock. But I don't know the way it's stated. It does seem like if you don't join, you good.
19 days, or else the game itself will kill you. In that sense, even good people like Sumiki will be forced to kill, and right now there's no way to avoid that. That being said, when we look at rules 5 and 6, it's possible to add rules to the game that might allow certain players to escape. To be specific, Rule 6 says that you can add one new rule to the game in exchange for exactly 100 points. Meanwhile, Rule 5 says that you can gain points by killing other players, and in theory, you should get 5 points for killing a sorcerer and 1 point for killing a civilian. In that way,
That's crazy because that's like, I mean, you got to kill 20 people to make a rule. That's crazy. Well, we got to kill 20 sorcerers to make a rule.
a rule can be added to benefit players like Sumiki, and all you have to do is murder 20 sorcerers or 100 civilians, or a combination of sorcerers and civilians. If Jujutsu High joined the Culling Game and just
That's
stopped killing
crazy.
people, then Sumiki can be saved, although they do have to be careful when it comes to Rule 7. Rule 7 says that you can add any rule you want as long as the rule doesn't have a serious, long lasting effect on the Culling Game. To put it another way, you can't add a rule that would stop the ritual either directly or indirectly. So, for example, a rule that would allow all players to leave, that would never be accepted. Besides that,
Oh,
in order to create this insane game, Kenjaku made a ton of binding vows where you have to give up certain things in order to gain other things. As a consequence of all the binding vows, Kenjaku himself is not in charge of the Culling Game. And what this means is that the game will continue even if he gets killed.
now I do love that about his character as far as like being a villain, because most of the time villains want absolute control to control everything to get the result they wanted. But his whole thing, which he said in season 2, where he actually said that he tried to like create this chaos and stuff like that. But then he went back and said what he really should have done was create chaos that even he can't control in order to get the results that he wanted, or in order to see what would happen if the world would evolve. So I like that aspect of like his villainy.
As a result, right now, getting points and adding rules is the only way to save Sumiki, since going after Kinjaku isn't going to solve anything. Now, with that explained, some final things to mention is that curses are going to be taking part in the Culling Game. Some of these curses are intelligent in the same way as Mahito, and so their goal will be to accumulate points just like the human players.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to say is that because these Culling Game barriers just spawned out of nowhere, understandably, there will be a lot of civilians who were trapped inside the space. That being said, in episode 3 of JJK Season 3, Tengen revealed that they will be given at least one chance to escape.
Okay.
Anyone who's been accidentally caught inside their colonies, they'll be given the option to leave, and if they accept, then they don't have to become a player. However, if they don't accept for whatever reason, then they will be hunted down by ancient sorcerers, by curses, and possibly awakened sorcerers as well. With all that said, my friends, we've
Mm-hmm.
explained the Culling Game rules so far, and we've also explained the reason why the Culling Game exists. So if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss my next one. On screen now should be my video explaining the different ancient sorcerers, which
Yeah. So I thought this video did good explaining the rules, 1 through 8. And as you go on, you'll see people adding rules and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this did good. JJK season 3 is amazing. The animation is amazing right now. I know there's some people that don't like it, but I thought it's been good right now. You are in for a treat though this season. And if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Bye.